I want to talk about like how this started. To me, now that we're putting like the pieces together, the night that he took his pictures down was the night that he went out to dinner with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. And at the time, Niner fans were like, well, that means that's good. That's a good sign. Clearly not. Clearly something happened at that dinner that caused Deebo Samuel to take down his pictures and privately request a trade. We'll never know what was said. What do you think might have been said at that dinner?
He didn't hear what he wanted to hear from like the long-term expectations for him, right? And what he wanted as it pertains to money, his usage, and all those things. I think they view him, and they probably were upfront. Here's one thing about Kyle and John Lynch that I've at least recognized. They keep it pretty real. They want you to know exactly where you stand with them, where you are. Like, hey, these are areas you need to improve on. Or this is the situation. And at that time, the situation is maybe, hey, we feel you're better and more value to us in this role. Unfortunately, that role isn't something that is sustainable for a long time. So we don't want to give you as much money guaranteed as you want. Deebo didn't like that.
Right. Guaranteed money. That was probably it. And so when he says, never got an offer, the contract, I mean, and when the Niners say, well, we never even had negotiations, it seems like whatever happened in this conversation, it was unofficial, but the Niners made their stance clear. We're going to pay you like a wide back, not like an all-pro wide receiver. And I think Deebo Samuel probably lost it. I mean, I think I probably would lose it in his situation too. And you know, if he had his agent's blessing, like, hey, go scorched earth, burn the bridge, let's get you out of San Francisco, then I mean, what did he do that was wrong?
Well, I think, you look at that situation as a whole. If I'm Deebo Samuel, I'm like, dude, I carried this offense down the stretch. I was everything. And when you needed anything, I was the guy that put the team on my back. Offense was stagnant. All right, put me at kickoff return. I'll return it to midfield in the playoff game in the freezing cold. All right, 3rd and 7 with a minute left and we need to close out this game. And we're not throwing the ball with Jimmy Garoppolo. No, you're handing the ball off to me and I get the first down. I'm limping off the field. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me? I would probably be a little insulted.
Yeah, because it's like they used his sacrifice against him. The way I look at it is like a lot of people say he's better as a running back than he is as a wide receiver. I mean, really? He was on pace. He had 1,000 yards in 8 games. He went to running back because the Niners are such a bad passing team. The quarterback's not good. The pass protection isn't good. And on top of that, Raheem Mostert was out. And so the Niners they needed Deebo to do this. And it just so happens that he could do it really well because he's a great football. He's also a great kick returner, as you pointed out. But it's like saying, well, you're actually a special teamer, so we're not going to pay you as an all-pro wide. He can do it. He did it for you. It was a sacrifice. He understood that he'd be taking more hits than he needed to take. And then at the end of it, to use it against him and be like, well, actually, this is gonna take away from your longevity. Well, why am I doing it in the first place then? I wasn't drafted to do this. It's your fault that I'm doing this. And now you're going to use it against me in negotiations. I'd be pissed too, man. I'd be mad.
I made this analogy on my show. So there's some people in here listening that just came straight over to hear. Thank you for supporting. But the analogy I made with receivers is they are all fruit, right? Candy is bad for you. Fruit, much better. Fruit also has its sugars and things in it, but fruit, you're good eating some fruit a day. Now, all fruit aren't the same, but you're still getting your fruit in you. So when you look at, let's say, not AJ Brown, let's say Justin Jefferson, let's say Stephon Diggs, those guys, let's say they're like they're grapes or they're a banana or something like that. Okay. And then you have a guy like Deebo Samuel, who he might be an apple.
Okay.
And let's say AJ Brown, he's an apple. Those two guys, their play styles are very similar. Mm-hmm. Very similar. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, Deebo Samuel, you've seen more of the usage as a running back, but those guys are very similar in how they win. Have we ever seen any clips of AJ Brown just whooping guys with his route running ability? No. You see him get inside leverage, break his route off, catch the ball, run after catch. A lot of what Deebo Samuel do. So those guys, to me, they're both apples. Now, maybe one is an apple, one's a red apple, one's a green apple, but they're both apples, right? Okay. Their play style is similar. It doesn't matter what type of fruit they are. At the end of the day, they're all fruits. They're all receivers, and they just win different ways.
Right.
And you might prefer the grape over the apple. Back in the day, you're getting fruit, and they're all productive. So that's kind of the analogy I use for those guys. You could say Deebo is not a pure receiver, but he wins. He wins the way he wins, and he wins the same way out as a receiver as AJ Brown, and nobody talks about AJ Brown as a pure receiver.
Good point. Juan, thanks for becoming a member. Jason, I blame Jimmy for this entire situation. Just leave. He wants to go. He said goodbye to the media. I don't blame Jimmy on this one. I mean, I think he thought, I guess you could blame him for having the shoulder surgery when he did. I think he thought he'd get cut. He guessed wrong.
I don't blame Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy, that the whole situation, I don't think that has anything to do. I don't want to say he doesn't, but because maybe Deebo just loves Jimmy Garoppolo. But in the sense of as far as if it's just about a contract, which they said is not solely about a contract, but if it is about a contract, that part doesn't have anything to do with Jimmy.
Juan says loyalty doesn't always work both ways. That's cryptic. What are you talking about? But I guess so.
That's some Deebo Samuel cryptic stuff right there.
Maybe he's not talking about football. Hater Vader says, Deebo, pay me like I play 3 positions. Pay me like 10 players. I will only play 1 position. See, to me, I don't know about that because that like when Ian Rappaport said it was about his usage, that to me is the 49ers say, hey, here's the reason why Deebo doesn't want to play for us. Like, we haven't heard that from Deebo. I'd like to hear it from Deebo.
I mean, there were the other reports that he wants to be utilized more as a regular receiver in the sense of running routes and stuff, as opposed to a wide back. But he's been promoting the wide back T-shirts and all that stuff he's selling. He talked about the Pro Bowl. Hey, we create a new position, and I said it then. You might want to stop saying that because that can kind of hurt you when contract negotiations start, and it seems like that's what's happening.